Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's the first hour of our Friday program, which means it is time for Brunch with Bernie, our national town hall meeting. I've got him on the right line here, Shane. Today, you're at Senator Sanders, you are at a senatorial retreat on Martha's Vineyard. Should we call this program today Brunch with Bernard? Sorry. I couldn't resist. How's everything going? What are your thoughts on what's in the news today, sir?
Well, my thoughts are that in what is the beginning of a very negative campaign, it's very important that we focus on the real issues and not get caught up in media gossip and personalities. Mm. And that the American people understand the stakes for which we are fighting. And I guess my view at the end of the day is I understand that there is a lot of disappointment at President Obama's record, and I share that disappointment. But not for 1 second should we minimize what it would mean to this country if Mitt Romney were president and if the Republicans continued to control the House and they gained control of the Senate. And what that would mean is a right-wing attack which would be unprecedented in the modern history of America, because we're not just talking about folks who want to cut back on programs for the middle class and working families, Tom. What we're talking about are right-wing extremists who really want to create in this country an oligarchic form of government and essentially end many of the programs that working families have fought for the last 80 years. Certainly Social Security is on that list. Medicare, as we know it, major cuts in Medicaid, major cuts in federal aid to education on those who want to abolish the federal government's role in higher education. Certainly they want to eviscerate the Environmental Protection Agency, allow the polluters to do what they want to do. More tax breaks for the very wealthiest people in this country at the same time as they're cutting back programs that the middle class depends upon. So the stakes in this election are enormously high. And what we have got to focus on is what a progressive agenda means, and we have to continue the fight for a progressive agenda. We have to never forget that right now, as we talk, you have some 24 million Americans who are either unemployed or underemployed, families who are really, really hurting. Media doesn't cover this every single day, but you know, as a United States Senator from Vermont, I talk to people in my state, talk to people around the country, old people, I shouldn't say old people, people in their 50s, 55, hope to work to 65, they've lost their job, may never work again. Young people who are having a very difficult time finding jobs while they're asked to pay very, very high college loans. Kids who would like to get away from their families still being forced to live at home. Families out there who want to send their kids desperately to college can't afford to do that. So there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain in this country, and we've got to be very systematic and figure out where do we go from here? What makes sense? And I think as we have discussed on this show, and as many of you call us, almost every week people call in, we need a massive federal jobs program. We need to start creating the millions of jobs that the American people need, and God only knows there is more than enough work to be done. Now, I'm happy to report that a couple of weeks ago, finally, a modest transportation bill was passed. We had passed a bipartisan bill in the Senate months ago. It took the House forever to do anything, and a modest bill was passed, which will mean millions of jobs will be saved and created. But we have got to go a lot further than that. Anybody in any state in this country understands that our roads, our bridges, our water systems, our wastewater plants, our airports, our public transportation, our rail system need an enormous amount of work. And when you do that work, you make America more competitive and you create millions of jobs. So we have got to do that. Put people back to work rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. In terms of energy, huge issue. We've got to break our dependence on foreign oil. We have to move to energy efficiency. I come from a cold weather state. There are people who are spending 20, 30, 40% more for fuel than they should be spending because their homes are poorly insulated. This is true all over America, and it's true in those areas where it's 100 degrees today, and they're losing they are losing energy from their air conditioner because their homes are not efficient. To weatherize our homes will create a significant number of jobs. To move to wind, solar, geothermal, biomass is huge. Tom, you may have seen, I don't know if you've discussed it yet on your show, this business of the U.S. Olympic Committee.
Oh, yeah. Have we talked about it?
Buying uniforms, Ralph Lauren uniforms made in China.
Yeah.
And this is just a symbol of the disastrous state of trade in America. The fact that people could give 1 second. This is the pride and joy of American athletics. These are the best athletes we have. They're representing the United States of America. And they're going to London in clothes made in China because presumably in the midst of a recession, there's just no companies in America that are able to make these uniforms. And of course, that's, I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah. It's like the other half of that irony is that this story came out several months ago. The border guards down on the Mexican border, the U.S. border guards, their uniforms are made in Mexico.
No, that I knew, and that's an issue, by the way, that we're working on. Over the last couple of years, I've been working, as we've discussed on this show, with the Smithsonian gift shops
to
get them to purchase more products made in the United States. They're doing that. We're working with the companies that sell products, gifts at the national monuments, making some progress on that. We're also working with the Veterans Administration, who in their own gift shops were selling too many products made from abroad. But bottom line here, if the middle class is going to survive in America, not only do we need to create millions of decent-paying jobs, rebuilding our infrastructure, dealing with our energy system, we need to deal with trade. And that has NAFTA, that is permanent normal relations with China, and that is to say these huge multinational corporations. You have to invest here in America. You want us every night on television. You're telling us how much you want us to buy your products. We'll start building those products here in America. And last but not least, when we talk about job creation, it is insane in a competitive global economy that we are laying off teachers, that we're laying off child care workers, that we're laying off cops and firemen. And we need to have the best educated workforce in the world. You don't do that by laying off teachers and child care workers and college professors. So I think, there's a program out there that we can fight for to create jobs, to rebuild the middle class. And as I've mentioned also on the show in the past, as this campaign proceeds and after the campaign, the major issue out there will be how to deal with deficit reduction. And I want all of the listeners never to forget how we got into this deficit in the first place. That's not something our Republican friends are talking about. And that means we went into 2 wars, and George Bush and his friends just forgot to pay for those wars. So worried were they about the deficit that they had no problem spending what will amount to trillions of dollars on war without putting a nickel into it. And not only that, in an unprecedented way, while you went to war, they also decided to give massive tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country. And then on top of that, because of the greed and the illegal behavior that took place on Wall Street, which drove us into the recession we're in, revenue now, as a percentage of GDP, is the lowest that it has been in over 50 years. So we're getting less revenue coming in. We spent more money on the wars. We gave huge tax breaks, and we're in a deficit. And then our Republican friends say, oh, my goodness, we're in this terrible deficit. We have got to cut Social Security. We've got to cut Medicare, Medicaid, education, environmental protection. That's the only way out. Well, some of us say no, that is not what we're going to do. We're going to ask the wealthiest people in this country, the largest corporations, to stop paying their fair share of taxes, among other things.
It is our Brunch with Bernie, our Senator Bernie Sanders, taking your calls in our national town hall meeting up next.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Brunch with Bernie, Sanders.Senate.gov, his website. Up next, 866-987-THOM, your calls for Senator Sanders. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. David in Springfield, Missouri, watching us on Dish Network on Free Speech TV. Hey, David, thanks for watching. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Well, thanks, Tom. I'm kind of concerned with the Farm Bill and the way it disadvantages real organic farmers. We've got the axis of evil in the food industry, which I guess would be Tyson's, ADM, and McDonald's.
Why don't you throw in Monsanto there as well?
Excuse me?
Why don't you throw in Monsanto as well?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm from Missouri, you know. Anyway, I just think this farm bill is just going to be a further insult to the little guys. In Missouri, we're already dealing with it being illegal to feed vegetables to our pigs if we're going to sell it to people, and we can't get waivers from the.
David, is that a state law?
Well, that's a state thing, but it's anyway. It's the big guys are controlling everything.
Well, I think that's certainly true. Although I'll tell you, David, I don't know that much about Missouri, but I can tell you in Vermont there is a real significant movement toward buying local, toward supporting local farmers. We have a significant growth in CSAs, community-supported agriculture, where people are prepaying farmers for their produce. We're seeing huge growth in farmers markets. On a Saturday, you go around Vermont, my God, on any given Saturday, there'll be many, many, many thousands of people out at farmers markets. And I think people appreciate there's a growing concern out there about the quality of food you're feeding your kids and that you want to ingest. You want to know who's growing it. There is a significant movement toward organics and to locally produced products. So I think in Vermont, I think all over this country, that is the movement. But obviously it's going to be opposed very seriously by the factory farmers and the big agribusiness corporations. The one issue that I try to move aggressively on in the Farm Bill, David, was to get labeling for genetically engineered food. And we only got, I think, 25 votes. But that was the first time anyone had introduced that bill, just to give states the right to label genetically engineered food, which is also a very big issue. Barry,
we have just a little less than a minute before the break. Is agriculture still a major part of the Vermont economy?
Absolutely, sure it is. Dairy is very big. Dairy farmers, like dairy farmers, family farmers all over the country, continue to suffer. And one of the provisions we did get into that bill was some growth management, which said that gives farmers some incentives to cut back on production rather than overproduce and drive prices down lower. But in addition to that, we are seeing in Vermont a growth in the number of young people who are moving into small farms, many of them organic.
Yeah, and that's a marvelous thing. When Louise and I lived in Montpelier, every Saturday we would go down to there's a little parking lot there in the middle of town.
Well, that's not so little anymore. That has grown. It's pretty big now.
It was you get half your week's food there. Right. It was absolutely marvelous. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, our national town hall meeting. The senator taking your calls right after this.
Seeking for economic and political progress as a nation, we all go up, or else we all go down as one people.
You say we all go up or we all go down as one people? That's great. Thank you, Shane. Welcome back. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us, taking your calls. And Bernie, all set to go?
Let's do it.
Okay, Larry in Winchester, Kentucky. You're on the air, Senator Sanders.
Hey, how you guys doing? How you doing, Senator?
Good.
Senator, I was wondering, I kind of tend to, started leaning towards libertarianism. Mm-hmm. Libertarianism, individual responsibility, and liberty, up to a certain, of course, within the law, of course. We gotta, don't you agree also that there are too many federal regulations in this country that are destroying businesses? I had two businesses of my own, and they both got destroyed in 2008. I would like for another comment on your thoughts of the no prime loan situation, where the Democrats pushed all the banks to give loans to people that could not afford the loans. Like I said, I was in real estate up north in Chicago, and I saw it going on. I couldn't believe my eyes. But let's give an example. A Mexican woman bought a $800,000 house. She was a bus driver. She couldn't make the payments, so she couldn't figure out why.
And who lent her the money?
I'm sorry,
Larry. Who lent her that money?
The banks. The banks were forced by the Democrats.
Well,
Democrats.
okay, Larry.
Hold on.
You've asked some good questions. Let me just respond. I think I don't know, obviously, what happened to your business, but 2008 was a very, very bad year. And to sit around and say, well, it was the Democrats' fault for the financial crisis, which led to the recession, I think would not be quite adequate. There is enough blame to go around, but I think the lion's share of the blame has to be placed on the people who fought very hard for the deregulation of Wall Street, who took advantage of deregulation, and who then acted in illegal and improper ways. And that is the largest banks in this country. Now, I know it's convenient for conservatives then to blaming Obama or blaming Democrats for everything in the world. But you talked about personal responsibility. Let's talk about responsibility. If you are Wall Street and you spend billions of dollars over a 10-year period to get deregulated, and then when you get deregulated, you bring about these huge mergers. You start creating the most complicated financial transactions in human history. You lead the world to the edge of a financial abyss and an international depression. Maybe Wall Street should take some financial responsibility. Maybe they should apologize to the American people for being dishonest, for acting illegally, for being reckless, for being greedy, for being irresponsible. And it's just too easy to say, well, it's the Democrats' fault. No, the Democrats have their share of the blame for participating in deregulation, which was led by the Republicans, but Democrats were there too. So in terms of, over-regulation, sure, there are too many regulations. But the problem with this country right now is that you have an economic level of concentration of ownership that is, I think, very, very frightening. And as I've mentioned before, we talked a moment ago about agriculture, and David from Missouri was talking about the power of big agriculture. And that is, compared to Wall Street, relatively, to use a pun, small potatoes. Because what you have on Wall Street right now, and I want you to hear this, Larry, you got 6 financial institutions who have assets equivalent to 2/3 of the GDP of the United States of America, over $9 trillion. They write half the mortgages, produce 2/3 of the credit cards in America. That's power. That's wealth. And these guys have abused that power. They have abused that wealth. And in my view, they are the people responsible for the recession, which has caused so much pain in this country today. So, I think it's not quite fair. You want to blame Democrats, fine. Blame Democrats, blame Republicans. But ultimately, I think the source of this problem, this crisis, the financial crisis, is the financial institutions. And I believe we're working, Larry, I would tell you, on a number of issues trying to some degree, alleviate the situation. Right now, we're trying to work on the Fed to say that it is absurd that people like Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, are sitting on the New York Fed. This is the fox guarding the henhouse. So we're trying to bring about Fed reform. More importantly, I believe that the time is now to break up these huge financial institutions. Too much wealth, too much power. They're leading us down the path once again, in my view, to a too big to fail bailout. But even if that doesn't happen, their power is just too great. So, Larry, I would take a hard look at Wall Street if you want to really understand what's going on economically in America.
Trevor in Phoenix, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Tom. Thanks, Bernie. What is the health care package for a member of Congress entailed? Is it like Medicare, and do you get to keep it after your term? And I'll take my answer off the air. Thanks.
I get those people who are eligible for Medicare, get Medicare. They pay for Medicare. Basically, what members of Congress have, and I think there's a lot of misinformation that goes around the website. We have the same. I have the same package benefits that my secretary has, people in my office have, any federal employee has. You got a whole long laundry list of different insurance companies and different programs that you can choose from. My family does Blue Cross Blue Shield. and we pay into it we pay into it. Federal government is a good employer in that sense, but the benefits that we get are the same as any federal employee.
So it's not some cushy thing that members of Congress
The federal
have.
government is a good employer in that sense for Congress and for other people as well who work for the federal government.
Yeah, we just have a couple seconds before the break. How do we get more businesses in America to be like that, to offer that kind of insurance?
Well, that's a good question, but I think the more important question is how we move to a national health care program.
There you go.
Which guarantees health care to all people.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Right to the point. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Check out his website at sanders.senate.gov. We'll be back with more of your calls in our national town hall meeting with Senator Bernie Sanders. Brunch with Bernie. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. And, Senator, you're here?
I'm right here.
Great. Okay, Jack in Los Angeles. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Well, greetings, Senator Sanders. Hi, Tom. Not too long ago, I heard of a movement that was coming into being to recharter U.S. corporations, and that there was talk of even turning it into a constitutional amendment. And the idea was to change them from their current mandate of only returning profit to making them corporate citizens, with corporate stewards, and assuming some environmental and social responsibility. I wondered if you knew if this movement was still going on and what happened to it. It sort of dropped out
Jack,
of my...
I apologize to you. I really don't know much about that. All that I do know on the issue, obviously, that I am focused on is the Supreme Court Citizens United decision, their absurd decision, claiming that corporations are people and giving them constitutional rights to spend as much money as they want in elections. I should mention, Jack, in that regard, that next week there will be a bill on the floor. I think the first vote is Monday night, called the Disclose Act. And it's a very simple bill. It doesn't go anywhere near as far as it has to go, but it's a start. And what it says that for corporations that are spending more than, I believe, $10,000 on campaign expenditures, putting on TV ads, radio ads, etc., that they have to disclose, they have to list who is paying for those ads. Not a very radical act, I should think. But my understanding is Republicans will be opposing even that. And I hope everybody understands the impact that Citizens United is having on American politics. And that is that we're looking at large corporate entities, whether it's the Koch brothers, whether it's Mr. Adelson, and others who are prepared to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in order to elect candidates who are sympathetic to the wealthy and the powerful and defeat those candidates who are fighting for working families. This is one of the most severe and outrageous attacks on American democracy that we have ever seen. And that is why I and some other members in the Senate have constitutional amendments in that would overturn Citizens United. But the Disclose Act is a step forward to say at least the public has a right to know who is spending this huge amount of money on campaigns.
Tony in Stafford, Virginia. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello. Thanks for taking my call. I got a call about the unemployment rate. Hello?
Yeah,
you're on here.
Yeah. Last month they were really excited about if the unemployment would be higher, the unemployment rate would have gone down by a higher numbers of people finding jobs and all that. But then it was adjusted for the public sector employees being laid off, which made it a real disappointing figure. Mm-hmm. My question is, are the governors of certain states purposely laying off workers to keep the unemployment rate artificially high?
I don't know the answer to that, Tony. What I do know is you certainly have governors out there who do not believe in that the government should be providing public services to people and are going about the business of dealing with their deficits in very regressive ways, which include laying off teachers, firemen, police officers, which obviously increase the unemployment rate. But Tony, the only other point that I would add to that is you should understand that how we calculate national unemployment rates, there are different types of indices used. And when you see a number of 8.2%, which is, I think, now the quote-unquote official unemployment rate, that is not really the true unemployment rate in America, because that does not include those people who have given up looking for work, and it does not include those people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. When you add all of that together, unemployment is a heck of a lot higher, unfortunately, than 8.2%.
Ed in Klamath Falls, Oregon. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, it's time to reach across the aisle again. Cooperate with the Republicans and help them downsize government. Let's start with the House of Representatives. Let's redefine the House of Representatives as one representative for every 10 million people and lay off 350 of them and send them home to go get a real job.
So, Ed, do you think that's going to solve the nation's problems?
They don't do anything anyway. I think they can do nothing with 70 members of the House as well as they can do nothing with 435.
Well, my own view, Ed, is not quite that. My thought is that government should do something, and the problem is not the size of the House of Representatives or the size of the Senate. The real problem is the degree to which members of the House and the Senate end up protecting the wealthiest people in this country rather than working families. And if you send them home, that ain't going to make the situation any better. What it, in fact, will do is give the big money interest even more power. So if you really want to make government responsive to the needs of people, Ed, I think we got to overturn Citizens United, which makes a bad situation worse. I think you have to move to public funding of elections. I think you have to reinvigorate the American public to get involved in politics, to hold their elected officials accountable. We need a progressive agenda out there. But I think term limits or cutting the size of the House of Representatives is not going to, in any significant way or serious way, address the major problems facing our country.
Mark in Columbus, Ohio. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, it's a pleasure to talk to a true patriot like yourself.
Thank you, Mark.
You were talking about the deficit and the unfunded wars, and I have heard some discussion about requiring the president, before he took us into a war, to pay for that, whether it be by a tax surcharge or some other mechanism. What is this, A, feasible, and B, what would it require? A constitutional amendment or?
Well, I mean, Ed, Mark, the truth is that that's how we have funded wars in the past. War is an expensive proposition. It's not a free ride. And it is wrong to simply add it to the credit card and let our kids pay for it. If a president decides to suggest that we go to war, ask Congress to go to war, he's going to have to figure out a way to pay for it. And historically, that has been the case. What Bush did is not only choose not to pay for the war, at the same exact time, during the war, he gave huge tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country, unprecedented, and certainly adding to our national debt and to our deficit. So bottom line is, clearly, if you're going to go to war and you're going to spend trillions of dollars, you can't just pass that bill on to the kids. You've got to figure out a way to pay for it and let the American people decide, by the way, if that's something they do want to pay for.
James in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Do I have that right, James?
Yeah, kind of like Philadelphia, but with an arc.
Okay.
Yes, I have. I wanted to tell you something about Medicaid. I can tell you a lot about Medicaid because I've been on it for over 20 years from a car accident I had. And it's been weakened really bad since Governor Mike Huckabee, the Republican, got a hold of it. I'm very happy to have it. But I have an idea. You know, the states that are thinking about opting out, like Texas, of Medicaid, why don't you give that money to the states that want to opt in, like us?
Well, that's an interesting question, James. I know the state of Vermont wants to see all of our people covered. Many of us believe that health care is a right, and we applaud the effort of the federal government to expand Medicaid coverage to 30 million new Americans, additional Americans. And James is suggesting that there are those states who do not want to see their uninsured covered, despite the fact that for the first 3 years the federal government is going to pay 100% of the cost. And he is suggesting that maybe we give that money to states who do want to see their uninsured covered. Well, that's an interesting idea, James. We'll keep that under advisement.
Jerry in Louisville, Kentucky. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello.
Hi. You are on the air, Jerry.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Sanders, I would like to tell you that I wish there were more people like you in Washington today, that the average person needs people like you.
Thank you very much.
And I admire you very much. I have a two-part question, and then I will say my questions and then let you answer my questions, if you don't mind. I saw President Bush at one time just in a small interview, TV interview, and just was so excited about the jobs that were leaving the country, the companies that were leaving to go over to other countries. How many of the companies, if you know, left the United States to move to China or someplace else while the Bush administration was there?
Jerry, I don't have the figures right in front of me, but I will tell you, I don't think there's any dispute that virtually every single major corporation in America, from General Electric on down, engaged very significantly in outsourcing. The former head of General Electric, a fellow named what was his name?
Jack Welch.
Jack Welch, right. He's made this statement, Jerry, and I want you to hear this. What he said is that he wishes he could have done manufacturing on a barge, i.e. taken his plants to those parts of the world where wages were lowest. So to answer that question, virtually every major American corporation has outsourced very significantly.
We'll be back with more of your questions for Senator Bernie Sanders in our Brunch with Bernie National Town Hall meeting right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. You can also drop by our website at ThomHartmann.com. We've got a new iPhone, iPad app there. It's free. Welcome back. Joe in Hemet, California. You are, and thank you for watching Free Speech TV. Joe, you're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to talk to you. My question is about tenant landlord. I never even hear it mentioned on the air there. But a tenant here. I'm 68 years old. I've been renting for forever, since I'm 15, 16, and I've just seen it get worse and worse in this state, to where this place here I'm living in, it has no insulation at all. I'm baking to death here. I have a cat that I'm trying to keep alive, and HUD is supporting it. I'm just wondering what do you know about that situation? Or you think
renters' rights?
Well, I know a little bit about it as the former mayor of the city of Burlington, but Joe, by and large, landlord-tenant relationships are generally done locally or at the state level, not very much at the federal level, I would have to tell you.
Okay. Kenneth in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Thank you for watching Free Speech TV. Kenneth, you're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yes, sir. I want to tell you I thank God for Thom Hartmann, Free Speech TV, and Senator Bernie Sanders. Not necessarily in that order, but I appreciate all of the entities that speak the truth. My question, I'm a retired longshoreman, and I watched 40-foot container loads of what was referred to as cigarette flavoring shipped by Philip Morris and other tobacco companies all over the world. And from what I understand, these flavoring drums, they're 55-gallon drums full of this stuff, is added to the tobacco products sold all over the world and in the United States to make these products more addictive. Now, I was given to understand that the Food and Drug Administration had been given authority to regulate the tobacco industry with regard to their practices of continuing to try to addict people to tobacco. And I was wondering what was being done.
Well, Kenneth, interesting you raised that issue because I just had somebody in my office the other day talking to me about it. And I hope everybody heard what Kenneth is saying. I don't know, the details about 55-gallon drums and so forth, but this is what I do know. That the tobacco industry has not given up. That in our own country and all over the world, they are continuing their efforts to hook young people on tobacco, which obviously will eventually make them sick or kill them, and which will cause great expense to healthcare systems in our country and around the world. They have not given up. And where countries are trying hard, whether it's in the United States or Australia comes to mind, they have gone to court to fight as hard as they can against government action that would keep kids from being hooked on tobacco. So these guys are selling a product that kills. Everybody in the world knows it, and they continue to do it, and it is an absolute outrage, and we've got to continue the fight to protect our children.
It is our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program on Free Speech TV and Pacifica Radio and commercial stations all across the country. We'll be back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders in just a few seconds. Stick around.
In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes.
Anything Goes Friday. Well, we'll get to Anything Goes Friday in the next hour. Right now, it's Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. Steve in Bradford, Vermont. You're on the air with your senator.
Hi, Bernie. This is Steve from Bradford. I'm glad that I can vote for you. I have one question for you. If corporations are people, and if I'm a people, why can't I be a corporation?
Congratulations, Steve Incorporated. You're now a corporation. No, Steve, that Citizens United decision is, if it weren't so painful and if it wasn't having such a horrendous impact on our democracy today, it really would be laughable that 5 members of the Supreme Court can decide that a corporation is a person. So it's a huge issue out there. As I mentioned earlier, on Monday night, I believe there'll be a bill on the floor beginning to start to take this apart by demanding the corporations that are spending large sums of money on campaigns have to disclose who they are and where that money is going. So it's a start, but we've got a long way to go. But thanks for the question, Steve.
Mike in Big Creek, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Bernie. My question is, can you pass a law or propose a law to cap the tax cuts at $250,000 so that everybody gets a break, but it stops at $250,000?
Yeah, that's what the president is talking about. What the president is, I understand your question, Mike. What will be coming before the Senate and what the president is pushing is a repeal of Bush's tax breaks for the wealthy for people who are earning more than $250,000 a year. And I think that makes sense. And I think for those people who are serious, my Republican colleagues who talk about the deficit, the impact it has on this country, and at the same time, I want to continue huge tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country, especially at a time when we are having growing income and wealth inequality in America. I think they're being hypocritical. So the answer is yes. I think legislation of that sort will be coming. Will it pass the U.S. House of Representatives, which is controlled by right-wing Republicans whose function in life is to protect the wealthy? I doubt it very much. Will we get 50 votes in the Senate? I suspect we will. My guess is we'll probably need 60 because the Republicans will filibuster it.
Mick, is it Mick or Mike in Toledo, Ohio?
Yeah, it's Mick.
Mick, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
It's great to talk to you guys. Senator, I'd like to ask you, why do you think that President Obama
he doesn't come across more forcefully when he should bring up these things like $2 trillion for the wars that Bush never put on the books and he did, and and that added to the deficit, and all this deregulation that they did, and they're stonewalling him at every. I mean, I hear him talk about it, a little bit, but I don't know if you heard Vice President Biden yesterday talking, but that's the kind of speech I would like to hear from President Obama, so that the country will get it, that the Republicans, they want him to fail so they can get the White House back.
Well, Nick, I agree with you. I really do, and I think you'd be surprised that a number of members in the Senate would concur with you. From day one, it's funny, when Ronald Reagan was president, he spent 8 years running against Jimmy Carter. And it worked for him, for better or worse. I think history will record George W. Bush as one of the worst presidents in the history of this country. And he left this country at a moment when we were losing 700,000 jobs a month, when this country was on the verge, not only itself but the entire world, of a major international depression. That's what Bush left us. And for whatever reason, I think President Obama has been very shy about talking about Bush's record, talking about the hole that he had to begin to fill, the opposition that comes every single day from Republicans, who I can tell you in the Senate have been more obstructionists, with more filibusters than any time in certainly the modern history of this country. Has the president been as forceful as he should be in taking on these guys and explaining that reality to the American people? I would agree with Mick. I don't think he has.
Okay. Pat in Allendale, South Carolina. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yes, I'd like to ask the question about global pledge. The fact that these people, we don't know nothing about global pledge. So why
you're talking about
would
Grover
they
Norquist?
Pledge to Grover and to the people? Shouldn't they go to jail for that? Because that's two different pledges. Take it off the air.
Tom, was this about Grover Norquist?
Yeah, she was asking why.
What Norquist has done, he's a very good politician, and what he has told Republicans candidates is, if you want our support, you're going to have to take a pledge that, in essence, you're never going to ask the wealthy to pay more in taxes. You're never going to ask corporations to pay more in taxes. So what you're going to do is, your way to balance the budget is to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, education, and programs that middle-class and lower-income people need, and your job is to protect the wealthy. And many, many Republicans have signed that pledge. I think that is absurd, and I think overwhelmingly the American people understand that when you have the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%, when you got 400 families in this country owning more wealth than the bottom half of America, that it is time to ask the wealthiest people who are doing phenomenally well in today's economy, whose tax rates are the lowest in decades, to start paying their fair share of taxes. And I think that's what the American people want, and I hope they will make that clear during this election.
Bernie, just 20 seconds here until the end of the hour. Your thoughts for the week?
Well, my thoughts for the week is that the election is heating up. This is an election of enormous consequence. What we need is to work and develop a strong grassroots movement around a progressive agenda which says that government has got to work for all the people and not just those people who, through Citizens United, can contribute hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into political campaigns. This country belongs to all of us, and not just the millionaires and billionaires.
Brilliantly said. Bernie, thank you so much for being with us again this week.
Good to be with you, Tom. Take care.
Have a great weekend.